Today I'm going to be refuting the claims made that the return to bilingual education will be beneficial to California. Now, the first secondary claim that is made is that bilingual education succeeds in making students more proficient with the English language. It goes on to propose that a student must have a high literary skill in order to perform well in math. The most important word in that sentence was the word must. Although it definitely helps having an excellent understanding of the English language, it is not necessarily the key to succeed in math. The example problem given, where the speaker quotes Lynn Millars, states, "Find a number such that 5 less than the number is equal to twice the number minus 21. Not only is this a complicated problem for bilingual students, this is just a really complicated problem for English-speaking students in general. The way the problem is worded doesn't do anyone any favors, and it's just really hard to wrap your head around it. There's also a belief that kids in bilingual education classes perform better in standardized tests. The quote the speaker used from 2009 claims that children with limited English proficiency who are taught using at least some of their native language perform significantly better on standardized tests than similar children who are taught only in English. However, from a more recent piece that I found in 2016, it claims quite the opposite. After the English for the Children Act was passed, which provided sheltered English immersion to immigrant students and required that they be taught English as soon as they start school. It is stated, Jamie Escalante of Stand and Deliver fame, one of America's most successful teachers, led the Prop 227 campaign as honorary chairman, rescuing California Latinos from Spanish-only educational ghettos. And it worked. Within 4 years, the test scores of over 1 million immigrant students in California increased by 30%, 50%, and even 100%. This shows that English-only classes are beneficial to Hispanic students, and this also counters the next claim that the progress made by students in a bilingual education program is much more significant than those who are taught in the English-only program. With Ron Oon stating that because nearly all the Latino children in California schools are now immediately taught English, they're doing much better academically and gaining admission to top colleges. Despite the end affirmative action in California, there's been a huge increase in the number of Latinos attending prestigious University of California schools. The next claim is that bilingual education promotes multilingual speakers. There's also claims of benefits in the workforce of bilingualism. This is assuming that there are little to none bilingual speakers, and however, according to the United States Census Bureau, there are more than 40% of people living in California right now that identify as bilingual, and only 16% of California residents claim to be LEP, or being limited to English proficiency. This also shows you do not need bilingual education in order to be bilingual. There are millions of kids that grow up in households where the parents speak their native languages. And of course, there is no real clear advantage to only speaking one language compared to being bilingual. There is by means no shortage of bilingual residents living in California. It is also stated that being multilingual helps society. However, the speaker uses a quote saying, a report from the University of Geneva estimates that Switzerland Heritage contributes about $50 billion a year to the Swiss economy, and also mentions it helps the UK, but it never really links to the proposition, which is primarily focused on California. And these are the reasons I think that returning to bilingual education will not be beneficial to California. Thank you.
Very well, I think you developed a good counterclaim to the arguments being presented by the advocate. There's not really a lot of discussion of what the advocate's evidence and reasons were. You just have these counterclaims that work pretty well. Your first one suggesting that bilingual education has resulted in increased standardized test scores, and you've got evidence from 2016 suggesting that that's true. You've got a quote from a respected educator that suggests that it's made a big difference in the enrollment at our four-year universities. You've got some statistical data that, well, it's not statistical data. You've got a quote that says that Latinos are increasing their enrollment at the UC system, and that's all been done under the system of bilingual education that we had that got repealed. So I think the argument that it was working is pretty nicely developed here. I don't know how to compare that to the argument that the advocate presented, because I don't really hear a lot about the advocate's evidence and reasons. So you want a little bit more contrast in your argument. The point you want to do is make your point and say, here's why my point's valid. Now, let's compare it to what they said. Their evidence was vague and abstract, or they had no evidence. And so or it was my evidence is more recent than the evidence that they had. They're using evidence from 2000 to talk about what the impact on Hispanics in California is. But in 2016, here we have data that shows this. So tell us why your evidence is better and why your arguments, in contrast to the advocate's arguments, work better. That's what you need more of. What you did was perfectly fine, and there are good arguments there, and I thought you found some pretty good evidence on those points. I just need the contrast, and I think that that's what most people are going to want in a debate. That's the kind of purpose of the debate. All right, thank you.